Okay, so I was doing some thinking for, referees, how they're in the black and white. Pardon me. Well, they have to be coming from like a non-biased point. That's why there's some referees that get so much crap because either they, get bribed or they make a call based off their own BS or something like that. They have to remain like the justice, like the scales, like balance. And if they don't, then they're throwing the game. However, the good referees, the ones that are in balance, are usually dressed in black and white. You see, they have the stripes, they got the black and white. They also have the whistle, symbolic to blowing the whistle, like a whistleblower. And I thought that was really interesting that today I went to the dermatologist. I was talking about this in a different video, and I've been waiting to get in there for a long time. And in order to get in there, I need a reference from my doctor. So I waited and I went in today, and I went up to the window, and the lady was very nice. And she's like, please fill this out. So I did. The last time I went to this dermatologist was like 5 years, maybe more ago, and the issue was never really resolved. And the last visit I had with this particular individual, this doctor, wasn't pleasant either. So you can get where I'm going. So I fill out the paperwork. I sit there. I'm already, it's already past the time I'm supposed to have my appointment. So I go in. She sits me down in there. She's like, just have a seat. I grab some paper towel and put on the seat because it was so hot out. My ass was sweating. So, and they have plastic chairs. So just a little side note, I put a paper towel down on the chair and I just sat there and I waited. Anyway, so he comes in, and the first thing he starts saying to me, very rash, like almost harsh, he's like, so you don't have a plan? And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, a plan in order to pay for it. And I was like, well, no. I was like, I can afford it. I'm fine. He's like, well, why don't you have any plan? Like, you're just going to pay for it yourself? And I was like, what are you getting at? I was like, I can afford to pay it on my own. He's like, well, they're really expensive, if I write you this prescription, then he hadn't even seen me or whatever the issue was, and he just started going off on me. I was like, do you want me to leave? He's like, no, I just want to make sure that you're able to pay for it. And I was like, I can afford it, thank you. And I was like, this is a really awkward conversation right now. I said, I feel like you're pinning me in a corner. It's not really necessary. And he's like, okay, well, what seems to be the issue? And so I explained to him, I was like, well, it's subdermal, it's on my face, the acne, and it never seems to come to a head. And I've been dealing with this issue. And I was like, hot water and soap that doesn't have, what do you call it? Perfume in it or anything seems to be working okay. And he's like, oh, okay, well, I can give you this stuff. He starts explaining it. And then I hold up a brochure that was on the shelf. I was like, oh, this stuff you're talking about? He's like, no, that's not the same stuff I'm talking about. And I was like, okay. And then I asked him, I was like, how long have you known Dr. So-and-so, which would be my doctor, which is one of the members that were a part of this whole thing. And he's like, oh, Dr. So-and-so, I've been here 40 years. I've got 40 years experience. I was like, so you've known him? He's like, I've been here 40 years, so I've known your doctor 40 years. He's a good man. He's a good man. He's very popular. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, yeah, I guess. I was like, I mean, I've had him since I was a child. like very young, like maybe 7 years old. He's like, oh, you've known Dr. So-and-so for this long. I was like, he knows me for that long. But yes, and I was like, okay. And so he kind of just, seemed to calm down a little bit. And then he wrote me a prescription. He's like, you got 5 refills and stuff like that. And he got up abruptly and he just left. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? I was like, wow, the amount of negative energy that was coming at me. I understand that there is something bigger to this, and I understand that there's more to this, and I see way more to this, and I see the connections when it comes to certain people and having to do with the Georgian Bay Area or Tobermory or any of that. And I think it's the Queen Islands and stuff like that. My hypothesis is that they're doing some illegal work, whether it be trafficking or organs or even drug shit, but I have a feeling that the islands have something to do with it. That's just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me on that, but that is, I get some downloads and I'm seeing some things, and with the amount of people in my life and me escaping that sort of cult bullshit, how connected each individual I've ever met in my entire life is. There's very seldom a person I meet that's not interconnected with somebody that has something to do with the torment or the abuse that I suffered. So just wanted to put that out there. That was a hell of a dermatologist visit. As soon as I left, I ripped up the card. I will not be going back to that dermatologist again. I don't even know if I seem to be handling this fine on my own, taking care of my face and everything like that. Seem to be doing well. I don't even know if I'll get the prescription that he wrote for me, but that was messed up for him to come at me like that. Anyway, so now that gives me proof how close he is with my family doctor. And I even tried to get a gynecologist because this is a male doctor, and I thought it was about time. And I couldn't even, I tried to talk to the gynecologist, and the lady over the phone said, unfortunately, the gynecologist can't have you come in here unless you get a referral from a family doctor. And I was like, what the? I was like, well, I would like a female gynecologist. I was like, that's weird. So now I got to figure something out with that. But I just thought about sharing this information. It was pretty important.